Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Dotloop with Jay Cermak, the Director of Agent Services and Trainer Extraordinaire here at the Keller Williams Fort Lauderdale office. That's me. My background, I've been a licensed agent for 7 years. However, I've also been teaching the technology in this market center for 3 years, trained at the Board of Realtors, and my goal is to empower you today with what Dotloop is, how to access your contracts, like blank ones to fill out, and how to create your own folders to kind of keep your contracts quick and easy to access. The goal is you should be able to leave this class able to fill out a contract. Obviously, the contract class is how to write in everything. This is how to use the technology to be able to fill things in. And you'll be able to walk out of here today knowing I can write a contract from my phone, my computer, once I know how to fill it in from this system. And to be able to do it quickly. The goal is you should be able to write a contract in just a couple of minutes, send it to your client from Dotloop, and they can sign it on their phone, their tablet, wherever, in just a couple clicks. And we're actually going to show that as well. I'm going to go ahead and do an example of if I was the buyer, how would I get the email to sign into it? And I think you should do a test like that. If you create a test of your own and practice, what would my client see? You can then answer their questions when they go, I can't figure out how to sign this, I don't know what I'm doing, to make it easier for you. So Dotloop lives under where it says Start My Transaction. It's part of the eEdge suite. Dotloop is the product that is the contracts, but under My Transactions, where it says Start My Transaction, is where we go. What this will do is take you to the Dotloop system. See how it's switching over to Dotloop, and if you're logged in with your business account, your Dotloop will be black and red. If you're in as a client or the free version, it would be white and blue, and it would say you have 10 transactions left. So there is a public-facing free version that they can do, and then there's the agent version that's premium that we have. The reason I mention that is when you share with your clients the contract that they signed in here, they'll have 24/7 access to it on their own system that they log into. So it's a great way to share it with them and how they're going to see it. And we'll go through what one looks like. Now the first time you come into Dotloop, it'll probably look like this. It'll have a bunch of circles, it'll have some information at the top. My first thing I would always do is where you see the 3 lines on the right-hand side underneath my picture, change the view from circles to the list view. The list view gives you more details. Circle view is just really a circle, a bunch of numbers in it, and partial address. Not really helpful when you're looking for a contract. This view will help you find what you're looking for, and you can categorize it and get more information from it. So I do that first, so when I come into here, it should look like this in a list view, and that's going to help me. Right, Joe, come on in.
It's always going to show as an address?
We're going to write that in that way. I'm going to show you when we create a folder. So first off, what is a loop? Let's talk about that. So a loop is literally a folder for a transaction. So Dotloop's the name of the service, so you'll hear them saying create a loop. It really means if I had a manila folder and I was going to put all my purchase contract in, all my paperwork related to this transaction, what would I call that loop and how would I put that in there? So Dotloop to me is a digital file cabinet. It's a place I'm going to keep all of my manila folders of every contract for legal reasons with FREC and other things. We need to keep your contracts, executed contracts, and closed deals paperwork-wise for 5 years. This system is what Keller Williams uses to do that, to keep it all available. So 5 years from now, if you need to grab an old deal, or a year from now when your client asks you, I need a copy of that contract, or I need a copy of this inspection report, this is where you're going to go to say, okay, here it is, and they can access it themselves in their own account. So before I get into how these are named, let's look at the top of the screen. So it'll show us My Transactions Premium, which is powered by Dotloop. The icons over here, that dashboard icon, you're not really going to use much. Dashboard is supposed to be what deals do you have pending and how much money might that make you. It's kind of like a little thermostat about how the deal is doing, when it expects to close, and how much your sales volume is. However, it doesn't keep an account like what happens when the deal cancels or you don't go through with it. So it's not an accurate measurement. It's just a tool that Dotloop created, so you're probably not going to use the dashboard. The most important one is what looks like a smiley face called loops. This is your digital filing cabinet. I'll come to loops and this will be everything. Now, I've been in real estate for 3 years, so that doesn't look like much. going to show you because I filtered it out because I don't want every deal I've ever done and every transaction ever. We're going to filter it out to clean it up so it should only be the deals I'm working on now that were on top of my desk. These are the folders I'm working with. The right to it, there's tasks. Tasks is the ability for the system to either generate one that says, here's when you're, like here's one, I have to sign an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement because I didn't sign it yet for my last test loop. So it's a little task that the system generated for me. You can create your own, yet right now it doesn't really notify you when the task is coming available. So I don't use tasks. I find there's a lot of admins. As you hire an admin one day, they love the task because they work in the system 24/7. They stay in here to make sure the contracts are done, that they're working. People is where you can go if you want to add vendors and contacts. I used to have to come in here to do that. Now I do it another way. So you're really not going to use any of those icons except loops. And the other most important one is templates. Templates is where you're going to go for the blank contracts. So where we keep them right now is Florida Interactive Forms. In our state and what our market center is using, Florida Interactive Forms are updated automatically by the state of Florida. So when the state of Florida says we have a new contract that comes out to give to the agents, it'll automatically be into this folder here. Now most of you, I've set up your account. I know we still have Tiffany's to fix when she joins the board, where it tells it the national ID. Once that's in there, that's when you'll have access to all the contracts with the state. There used to be 100 different folders in here that we had to manually enter and add that contract when a new one came out. And they don't change all the time, yet they change enough that we weren't managing properly. So this is a great feature that if you want to make sure you're using the most recent contract, this system will now automatically pull that contract out and put in a new one. So this folder will always be up to date. You never have to wonder, do I have the latest version of the contract in here? The state of Florida, the FAR, Florida Association of Realtors, automatically puts all the forms in here for us. We're going to create these folders that I have later that you see for buyers, lease and stuff, but this we're going to come from a blank contract. So the common one we're going to use from the contract class called Boot Camp would be the FAR Bar as is contract. So it's right here. If you came to it from templates though, you're only going to be able to really print it out. It's not going to let you fill anything in here because we're under a template and it's not modifiable. So you could come, if you want a blank contract, download one. If you want to print one out and have a copy with you to start studying and fill it out in person, you can. We're fortunate that in the state of Florida you can do both handwriting on there and have them hand sign it and electronic signature. Your documents, most of them here will probably be a mix of all of it. You'll have some part of it handwritten in, some of it typed in, one signature with wet ink, one with a digital signature. That's okay. It's all legal and that's all right to do it that way. So if you ever want a copy to bring with you, I usually don't bring, no, I have an as-is contract with me at all times, and I usually have a listing contract with me. The listing contract, usually you haven't even agreed to a term yet, so most of the time I'm not going to do electronic signature with that unless they're out of state. We're going to have a conversation, so I usually fill out as much as I can, bring it with me, and then we're going to talk about what your commission is. We're going to talk about this, and you're going to sign on the dotted line. Just know that's where you're going to come to get these. Now, the boot camp class is where we'll have Paul Krasker, our lawyer, and Richard Bass, our broker, explain to you how to fill out the purchase agreement to buy a home and how to fill out the listing agreement, how that gets filled out and what it is. Today's class is just knowing where it is, and then now I'm going to show you what a loop is to start filling it out and fill in the terms electronically and share it with your client. So the two main things you're going to use here are loops and templates. So I'm going to come back to the home page. Now we're on to the next little section. Yes, you have a question?
So when I have a buyer, I have a buyer who's ready to buy. What is the first contract I need to pull up?
For him, it's actually going to be the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement.
Okay.
So the paper I gave you here, where it says what contracts you need, is actually going to be the first one under the word buyer. What that contract is that's your, you're working with me, exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. You're working with me, we're going to help find a house, and this ensures that I can represent you at the highest level, and that I'm going to get paid on the deal.
And this contract can be sent digitally?
It can be sent digitally. If you're going to meet with them in person, I usually print that one out as well,
right.
And we sit down together to sign it and say, hey, you agree to work with me. So as you take Ignite, the other classes, you'll learn strategies to get people to sign it. In our world, for Keller Williams, an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement is a listing agreement for the buyer. So it counts. It's a contract between the buyer to say, if you buy a home at 123 Main Street, I represent you, and that I'm going to represent you at the highest level. Yes, so that would be one of the first ones that you would use, and that is explained by Paul Krasker in the contract class. So now there's some features for filter, activity log, and then sorting by. This here is what I've done. So filtering, the reason this is important is sometimes what happens is you say, I have a contract and I can't find it. My folder's gone. It probably just means there's a filter that's either checked or unchecked. So I mentioned how you can archive, or you can't delete anything out of the system, as we talked about before in the class. What you can do is archive it so that you don't see it anymore. So I'm showing my archive right now, and after 3 years of business, you've got a lot of test books from teaching, actual closed contracts, failed deals. It's literally a file cabinet of everything I've ever done in this system since 2013 with Keller Williams.
So when the contract's closed, that whole loop is complete, right?
That loop is different. It's related to tasks. So not every loop had a task in it, and some of them the task was just sign this contract, sign here. So that's the only reason the loop partially fills in and doesn't. It's related to the task.
Oh.
I don't use tasks, so you're going to see a mix of partial and un. Don't worry about that.
Gotcha.
So do you just automatically say, okay, well, this I filled out all this loop, and then these people weren't approved and they're gone. Just go ahead and archive it.
Correct.
Okay.
Even when it's done, after it's sold, I would archive it too to know I don't need this file.
Yeah. Okay.
So I use the archive for everything to just, let's hide it is really what it's doing, and I can always get it again if I need to. So archiving it, I can just uncheck this box for archived. So if it's checked, it's going to show the box for the type of folder, and if it's unchecked, then it will hide it. So when I click filter, now it's just some of the deals I might be working on. Does that make sense how you can filter it? I'm just pointing out, if you ever can't find a contract, come here to filter and just clear all. Clear all the filters out and you'll find the contract. Because it can't be deleted, the folder, I say contract. The loop and the folder are here. It can't be deleted, you can't accidentally lose it. It's probably just being filtered out of the way.
So you just go to archive and you uncheck.
Yeah, uncheck it will hide it, check it will bring it back.
Okay.
So for now, I'm hiding it, I don't need it. These are just some of the deals. Obviously there's the test ones that I'm working on, and we can go from there. So just know you can filter it. This activity log here is basically your file cabinet's activity log. What's happened to any loop, anything you've done. So if I click activity log right here, it's gonna show me, it's connecting, that everything I've ever done. So in this case, it's showing me from February 2nd, this is when, I'm in, I have access to the office's administrative account. That's what it's showing for activity log. It should just be mine. Let's switch this over. No. Normally, activity log is going to be created a folder showing this client viewed a document. This one was looped, archived, signed. Anything that's done with the whole filing cabinet in one place. That activity log button is inside every folder, every loop. I think that's a better way of seeing it, but if you just want to quickly know, hey, has anyone done anything with my file cabinet today? Activity log is where you click to see that. And then sorting, you can then sort it by either default, address, MLS. Now, most of you are going to be new and may not have 100 deals yet, so 1 or 2 deals you don't need to sort it. Once you start having like 10 deals at a time, 15 deals at a time, more deals at a time, I like the last updated as an option. Because last update means the last time I went into that loop and did something. Sent it to a client, emailed them, they signed something, the update of that activity. You can also do it by closing date. If you tell the contract, we're going to close by the 15th, and then we're going to close by the 28th, whatever it is, it'll sort it by that. So you can always sort it as well. Mine's under last updated. So this was the last test I taught for Dotloop. Then this was a previous deal. This was actually one of my own deals. That's what these items are, and again, if you click on the squares, it goes to the circles, and you click on the lines, it switches back to the list view. So we've covered everything at the top of the screen, everything there. Now we're going to loops. Again, the term loop just means a folder. And you want a folder per transaction. So if you have a client buying and selling, you get 2 loops for them. One for the purchase of the house, and one for the sale of the house. You don't want to put it all together because you can't keep all those papers separate. So just like you have a manila folder for each side of the deal, that's what the loop is. If you think of this whole system as a filing cabinet and every loop as a manila folder, it makes a lot more sense and it's easier to use. So right here, for loops, I can search for one. Notice the red bar says the word search. So if I was looking for Mickey Mouse, there's the deal I did with Mickey Mouse. Obviously a test for the class. I didn't really work with Mickey Mouse. I think one of my test classes I sold the Cinderella's Castle at Disney just because I wanted to, write that out as a contract. It's your ability to quickly search for files. So if you didn't filter anything, or once you do unfilter, if you're looking for a file, just use search to say, hey, I'm looking for a deal with the Joneses, or I'm looking for 123 Main Street. Whatever it is, it'll search for it very quickly. So now let's create a loop. When we create a loop, it's going to say, create a loop. Now, you're asking how the address got there. I put the address on it. The label on my manila folder for Robin, our MCA, to quickly find needs to be whatever the address is, and then afterwards it could be dash their name, dash full name, whatever you want after. As you can imagine, we have a lot of folders and loops that she has to search through, so we need to control that by labeling with the address. So for today's example, let's see, I've sold a bunch of different addresses. How about something different? 555 North Ocean Boulevard. That would be a condo. Now, even though an address is pulling up here, coming from Google Maps, do not click one of these. The reason I'm telling you not to is it's going to start putting in the whole address. As you see, for auto to even show up on this list, you don't need it to be there. Don't worry about the drop down below. Your file is 555 North Ocean Boulevard, dash, and then let's say I'm selling it to the Joneses. Jones. That's all it needs to be. Don't worry about anything down below. And then I would create my loop. What this means is this is the label on top of my manila folder on everything related to the purchase of 555 North Ocean Boulevard, and my clients are the Joneses. When you come in here, now we're into the actual filing, the file itself, the loop. So they've got 555 North Ocean Boulevard, which I have the C capitalized. This can be corrected. If you click on the title of the name, and then click on it a second time, I can edit it and mark it to lowercase, or add another name to it. Maybe I missed a 5, maybe it's 555 Ocean Boulevard. And then when you go back, it's now saved. So don't be worried if it didn't name it right. The reason I mention that is when you work with a buyer, you don't have an address yet. I don't know what property they're gonna buy, yet I'm working with John Smith, then I make a folder called John Smith, and when he finds 123 Main Street, then I'll add his name to it. Because I still want to file with that buyer brokerage agreement in. I want that paperwork digitally kept somewhere, and for compliance, any contract that's signed within 3 business days needs to be in this system. If we ever got audited, that's what they're going to look for. Hi, I noticed you have a listing on the MLS. It's been 3 days. I'm coming to the office, and I'm the state saying, where's your contract? Your paperwork doesn't count. It needs to be in here so Keller Williams can say, yes, please take a look at our loops and our files, and everything you need is right here. So that's the little makeup of it. Now notice it says select transaction type. You will want to do this because on your main screen where the loops were, this will help you notice what's a purchase, what's a sale, what's a lease. You're categorizing this folder so that you know what type of deal this is going to be. So in this case, we're buying something, so it would be purchase. Notice there's purchase, listing for sale, listing for lease, real estate other, could be used for like referrals, and then other. So purchase is what I want. Now that I chose purchase, this is where I get some options of what status are we in. So pre-offer right now, because we're making an offer on this house, 5555 North Ocean Boulevard, and I'm going to be under pre-offer until we get under contract or sold, and then archived when I don't want it anymore. Doing it this way will help you quickly go into your filing cabinet and say, I'm looking for my buying agreement or my purchase deals, and I want to be under the pre-offer status because we're making an offer. It helps you organize it. That's the only reason these are here. It's for your organization. Now to the right, if you notice up above, activity log is here. So right now, if I click activity log of this one folder and loop, it'll tell you I created the loop, I changed the name of the loop, I changed the purchase type and status. So it's literally a history of everything you've done. It'll tell you when you emailed a file. It'll tell you if the client viewed it. It'll tell you if the client signed it. It's your digital record of everything that happened with that folder. It's really cool that they take that many notes with it.
And mine have been this long.
Exactly. And you see, this is within 5 seconds. I've already got 4 items on there. It will get longer. Added a contract, modified the contract, sent the contract, signed the contract. Yet, if you ever were to go to court, this is a much better digital record than me carrying around a paper folder saying, I don't know when they signed it. I don't know how they did that. This little message icon was neat, and then submit review. Submit review, I always skip in Dotloop class, and I shouldn't.
Yes.
When you have all the files in here and everything's signed, like all your contracts, we're ready to go, we're ready to close. When everything is signed and in here and you're done with the folder and you want it reviewed by Keller Williams to look at it, that's when you click submit to review. And we will cover that in Robin's class with the green sheets and how to get paid. Part of that process is making sure all your paperwork is submitted. So just know that's there. You can hit submit more than once. So if you have everything signed, well, multiple times. You'll do submit for review when everything's ready and you're getting ready to close.
Is it better to do it when it's all ready, or to do it individually, or is that preference?
It depends. So, like, I don't need to do it now if I'm working with a buyer agreement. She doesn't need that. It's only for the closing process. If we're going to close and I need to check for my clients to close, I'm holding escrow, whatever, there's a closing date set by the title company, and I'm setting one, that's when you're going to hit submit to review. Because you've got the contracts all signed by both parties, everything's executed, and now I'm letting them know to start the closing process here. Otherwise, I don't need to hit submit for review. They don't need my buyer's agreement right now. They don't need we put an offer in and it didn't get accepted yet. It's only for the contracts that are going to close. That's when you're going to hit submit for review. Thank you for asking that. Okay, obviously notifications, there's any notifications, and there's an actual messaging capability. As you start using this, you might get a message in Dotloop from Heather, our compliance, virtual compliance person, might send you a message saying, hey, we're missing a signature. You'll get a message from Dotloop, and she'll sign it. Heather Mumfrey, missing this signature, please get it back to me and submit for review when you're done. That's when you'll get a message like that. And your clients can do the same thing. If they reply to any email you send them, that's their opportunity to say, hey, Jay, I've got a question, or can you help me with this contract?
So basically anything of importance, like, for example, contracts and so forth, would be submitted at the end of when you're ready.
Right.
I got you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're here. I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, now we're into the actual what do we do next. So we've called it the file name. We've sorted it by purchase and pre-offer status. Now we're into what you see as documents. This is where I take my folder, and now I'm going to organize and put stuff in here. Now we used to have to come in below and do set up our people, add tasks, all that kind of stuff. We don't need to anymore. When you add a contract, those capabilities are now built into an autofill feature of the contract. Makes it nice and easy. So your options, templates. That's where I can go to the Florida Interactive Forms and bring a copy of the purchase agreement in here for me to now fill in. Browse means I can take any PDF and upload it into this file. Not a Word document, PDFs. So if you have the paper copy of your listing agreement signed by the seller and yourself, you can scan it into our machine over here in the other room. It'll email you a PDF. You save it to your computer, and then you browse the computer for it and upload it to the system. We're going to do an example of that in a moment. There's also email. The trick with email, some people use it. This is how long the email address is. Easily messed up if you do it wrong. However, if someone emailed a file to this email address, it will go into the Dotloop. It'll upload the PDF automatically in here. My methods that I use the most of are browsing from my computer for a file or a counteroffer or whatever contract, and templates. Now, when thinking of this whole system too, because we're going to practice putting a contract in here, filling it out, and signing it with the client, this system is for you and your client to interact with. Right now, do not be concerned about sending another agent the loop from here. Don't worry about sending the file from here. In South Florida right now, we've got Dotloop, Transaction Desk, Form Simplicity. There's several different methods that agents use to get contracts and to use them. Even in this office, not everyone's using Dotloop the way that they should. So if you start in your head with this is between me and my client, And anyone else who wants any of the copies of the contract, I'm going to give them a PDF of it and let them figure out how they want to handle the deal. I'm just telling you that now because it will save you from the headache later when you send an agent in this office a Dotloop request to join me on Dotloop, and they go, what is that? What are you doing? And they get frustrated. I've had agents from other deals that aren't with Keller Williams that go, what is this Dotloop? And they get very frustrated when you send them a system that they don't understand. The universal language right now is send me a PDF of your signed contract filled out with your offer, and I will get my client to sign any way I choose with them. So just keep that in your mind. So let's go ahead and browse. We'll go to templates here, and I'll come to my Florida Interactive Forms. And since we're purchasing a contract, let's go ahead and put in here the as-is contract to buy. Now on our paper that I gave you, the current contract we use, the common one, is the FAR Bar as-is contract. Means it was created by the Florida Association of Realtors and the Bar Association for the lawyers. They came up with this form. And the as-is, it means it's already built into the as-is, so you're buying the house as-is. It means they don't have to fix anything, doesn't mean you can't ask for them to. So typically down here, that's the one that we use the most. So I'm going to add that one. So notice I check the box and hit copy. Now there's a copy of it in my folder. I'm also going to add one more, just we have another one under templates, Florida Interactive Forms. Another common one is lead-based paint. Since most of the homes here may have been built before 1978, I need the lead-based paint, is this one. Lead-based paint disclosure. So I've got those two in there. I don't know why they're in two different folders. That was a mistake. Dun dun dun. Add document, templates. You can have more than one folder in there. Some agents like to keep things separate. Like here's all my contracts. Here's a separate folder inside here for other items. I've just used one. It's your choice if you want to use more than one folder. So now I'll go lead-based paint. I normally just have one document folder here and then everything's inside that folder. Now what you'll notice is it's not in order right now. It's got the as-is contract below and the addendum above it. You can rearrange these by simply clicking here. Notice how my mouse turns into a cross. Click and rearrange it. The reason that's going to be important is you can take multiple PDFs and save them as one PDF. And if they're in the right order, that's how it's going to create that PDF. So I always think it should be my main contract and any addendum should be below it. If we're buying a house, then I'll add a PDF of the mortgage letter saying we're approved for financing. That would go below this, and then you keep rearranging them.
You can rearrange.
You can. You can.
Well, if I can drag it.
Yep. See,
Oh, okay, cool,
click
cool,
and
cool.
drag and just put it to where the box is below it or above it, and then it will rearrange it. It's just like in Matrix rearranging your folders. It's really easy to do. So I've got the contracts I need. Now I can click on one to fill it out. So I'm going to come into here. Again, today's class is not how to fill one out. I'm just showing you the forms. The boot camp class will teach you what the actual legality of the contract is. This is the beautiful autofill form that they've created for us. So it's nice and easy. Well, who's my buyer? Notice that I had to go, there's people in the other screen. Well, I can just do it right from here. Add person. So my buyer, I'll add a person. And let's just say full name is P Dragon. Just the name I'm creating. If they're going to e-sign, they need their own email address. So if it's a husband and a wife who say just use one email for everything, well, I need one for you husband and I need one for you wife. They need to be separate. It's one email signature per email address. So in this case, I want to send myself a copy so I can show you how to do this. So I'm going to put my email address in there. They're already marked as a buyer. That's really all I need, an email address, and make sure that their name is their legal name. If I'm Jay Cermak, which I go by as a realtor, my legal name for signing contracts and purchasing is James. So I need to make sure that's the legal name that's on my license. If it's a seller, it needs to be the legal name on their agreement. So now I can just add person. So now I've got buyer 1 in there. We're not going to add another buyer. What about seller? I need to add a seller. Here's the trick with seller. I don't need their email address, yet I do want their legal name. I recommend that you pull up the tax record, either through Matrix or from, if it's Broward County, it's bcpa.net. You can do a property search here in the tax record and either do it by name or address, and I think this is a real address, 555 North Ocean Boulevard. Yep, I'll just pick one of these. The reason you want this page pulled up is have this up if you're filling out a contract. Because you're going to need the legal owner's name, you need the ID, you need the legal description. You're going to need this stuff for the law to fill out your contract.
Because sometimes there are also incorporations who are property owners.
Correct, correct. You need to make sure everything's here. So in my case, I have 2 property owners, Janet and David. So I need to make sure that they're both on the contract, because if they're on this legal form, they all need to sign. So I'm going to go ahead and copy Janet's name and add her as seller 1. So full name, just add it twice, delete, delete. I don't need her email because I'm not going to have her electronically signed. She's not my client. But I do want her here for that. Add a seller. So add person 1 for seller, and then I'll add seller 2. Add person. That'll be David Clemens. Again, the only thing required is the legal name and their phone number. Okay. Email, address. So now I've got buyer 1, Janet as seller 1, and seller 2 is David Clemens, because that's what the legal has stated. Buying agent. Who's the buying agent? That's me. So buying agent will be Jay Cermak. Listing agent, if I have their name, I can put it in. If I don't have their name, pull it from the MLS. We'll just pretend it's John Doe, Josh Doe. There you go. Again, I don't need their email address. The only thing I'm going to email is my client. So that's the top part. Property address. Now you can search by address or MLS number. It's not pulling from your MLS. It's pulling from Keller Williams' system. So I wouldn't do that because it might fill it in wrong. I recommend just come and put in the address. 5555 North Ocean Boulevard. Did the C again. Or C unit 1 because I know it's a condo. Fort Lauderdale. Spelled Fort Lauderdale wrong. That's okay. Ever notice how annoying it is to go between 10 different computer, like keyboard types? Different ones you have to click harder, and that's what's happening. 5308. County is important. Broward. This is saying parcel or tax ID. So the tax ID on this sheet is here. I recommend you copy and paste it in. If you try to type that in and type it in wrong, then legally you just sold someone else's house. Because that is what the state is going to take for filing the certificate. That's why it's better if you just copy whatever the tax record is. Now, if the tax record's wrong, okay, well that's the state that made the mistake. Don't be the one to make the mistake. Copy and paste it in. Financials, what are we buying this for? So obviously it's on the ocean, so I'll buy it for $500,000. Don't worry about the dollar signs or commas, it'll add those in the contract. Earnest money, that means your escrow deposit. How much money down are you putting for the contract? So in this case, we'll go ahead and put down, it's condo, so I'll just say $50,000. Contract date, when are we closing? Well, it's a condo, I need at least 30 days to get the approval for it. So we'll just say March 10th. And then the last thing is the legal description. I'll come here again. Here's the legal description. Copy it and paste it. Sometimes it's really long. Paste it there. So my autofill form had my buyer added, my seller added, buying agent, listing agent, address, what are we buying this for, earnest money, closing date, and escrow. The reason this is cool is it did a lot of my contract all up in front. Now that I hit autofill, everything in yellow was autofilled in. So most of my contract now is ready to go for me just to fill in the missing pieces. Cash or finance, what are the different things? Inspection periods, that kind of stuff you'll learn in the contract class. So there we go, $500,000, and we're putting down $50,000, escrow deposit. Now I'm not going to go through and fill out this contract, but you get the idea. So everything's already filled in. I can also replace it. If it was typed in wrong, like oops, I misspelled Broward, well then just edit it. Just because you autofilled, doesn't mean you can't modify whatever's in here. It's just meant to save you time. So I'm not going to keep adding everything. Now up at the top, you have the ability to obviously save the file, print or download a copy of it. Adding, they don't really give you any controls because this form is locked by the state. All I'm allowed to do legally is add text to it. I can't change it, I can't cross anything out here. Even though there is strike-through we know legally doesn't count unless you initial next to it. And since I can't add initials, I can't use it on this version of the form. PDFs, I can add that. I can cross things out, add initials, add text, add all kinds of things. Just know if you use a template, you can't modify it that way. So there really isn't anything else to do here but save. Yes, there's a save and share here. I don't use it unless it's one contract. Typically, you're signing multiple forms. Purchase agreement, lead-based paint, another addendum, whatever it is, everything that's signed, you want it sent in one email. If you use the save and share button, it's one email per document. So your best bet is to click save and go back. So now it's grayed out because I already filled it in. So I'll come to the next form, lead-based paint disclosure. Notice the autofill form popped up again. It's nothing changed, so I'll click autofill. And it filled in stuff for me. Now here, everything that's already marked with their initials doesn't mean they signed it yet, means they're going to sign it. It's pre-filling in that this is a signature form. This is a contract form I have to sign. Now before I sign it, let's say you accidentally didn't click the autofill and want to bring it back. This autofill button at the top of the screen will always bring back your form. We'll just say yes, bring back the autofill form, and it will bring it back to you. So if you didn't see the autofill form or accidentally click the X instead, you can bring it back. Just click the autofill. So I'm going to sign this one. Since this is my signature and it's asking the selling licensee, that's me, the buyer's agent, to sign this contract. Signing the contract is the same as what your client's going to see. This is the box. Confirm your name. Is it typed in correctly and what are your initials? They will make a digital signature for me, or I can click draw signature and draw my own. J, Cermak, blah, blah, blah. It's horrible, so I'm not going to use that. Switch back by clicking type signature. So it already made one for you. You're agreeing to their terms, and it's here. That's how easy it is to get a signature. If you're on a tablet or a phone, it might switch automatically to the draw first. Just have them draw it.
Here's a question.
And if they do it once, it'll be there. Yes?
The signature, do you have like fonts for that?
Not in this one. Other systems do, like Authentisign lets you choose a different font. It's just one.
Jay, is there a way to make it, bigger? Because mine always shows like tiny.
Not from here
It's
and not
almost
from this form. You can do it when you do a PDF. So this form is locked. I'll hit adopt and sign. So here's the signature. That's locked. I can't resize that box. If you're in a PDF and I add a signature box, I can make that larger if I want to. The nice thing is, if you use the signature field of an initial or a signing of your whole name, you never have to click a date. It automatically adds a date and a timestamp to every signature. So this one's done. So I'm going to click save because I signed it. I'm now going to come back and I'm ready to share this file. So now that we're here, if you notice, if I check both boxes, I now get some options. Make a copy, open, print, or download. If you want to look at what this looks like, or maybe it's all signed and ready to send it to another agent, if I check every box and click download, it'll open up one PDF of all those contracts put together. So I'll open it first to make sure I filled it in correctly. I checked all those boxes, so it's two separate forms, and now it's one PDF showing me, here's the information that's typed in. So I can print this out and bring it with me if they're going to sign in person, or I can now email this to the other agent as a PDF. So there's my purchase agreement, and down below is my lead-based paint, all in one form. So it's here. The nice thing is, since I signed this, every time it's signed, it'll have a Dotloop signature verification. If you click that link, it'll take you to a legal page that shows you what I signed, when I signed it, what my Dotloop ID is, the IP address of the device I was on, and what my security level is. This is what's going to hold up in court. If someone said, I didn't sign that, well, let's look at it. This was your computer. This was your email that you got into. The reason I mention that is there is something called host-in-person signing. I only warn you that if you do that and it's your device, I can see how in court someone can say, I didn't sign that, you signed it for me. So always make them sign on their device. They can sign it on their phone, their tablet, their computer. Make sure it's their device and their email is how they're going to get it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and send this to myself, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to sign it so you can see what happens. So I'm going to check both these boxes and click share. Now they get one email and all the documents are together at once. Otherwise, the save and share is one email per every document. So Pete Dragon is the only client who's going to sign, and he has 18 fields he has to sign. These people I don't have their email address for, so they're not getting an email. I can add a custom message. Please sign ASAP, whatever you want to add there. There is an option that says attach PDF to email. I no longer do that because if they open the PDF and download it, I have no digital record of what they did with it. If they click view and download it themselves, I have a digital timestamp of they clicked at this time and looked at the file, they downloaded the file, whatever they did with it. So just put in their name, a message, and click share.
Okay, because I've already done it, but that.
It's okay. It's okay if you do it. And I used to do it because I'm like, well, people couldn't use Dotloop, but you need to force them to use it because if they download that PDF and save it, type on it, print it, I have no record of it. And I want a record of everything that happens. So I'm going to click share. The document has been shared, and now it says these documents are waiting on others to sign. To the right, just so you know, every little 3 dot here does have a couple options. I can open, I can rename a file, make a copy of it, history, print, download, archive that one individual file. You can archive files, you can't delete them if they're inside of it. So let's go into my Gmail account. Let's see if it lets me in quickly. I think we're logged in as Bill. Hi, Bill. Sign out. Okay. Add account. Now, I was mentioning earlier in the class, I recommend that you create a test loop and send it to one of your own accounts. Try it. See what it looks like, because until you're comfortable using the system, you're not going to be as comfortable telling the client how to use it and why to use it. So this is how the email comes in. Action needed. Jay needs you to sign 2 documents. They've revamped this a little bit. I like it. They just changed this literally from the last time I taught this class. So Jay shared 2 documents. Very clear. Here's my message. Please sign ASAP. Here's the 2 documents. Well, I guess they're making it do work. So we'll review the contract to sign. When it signs in, notice this time it's now blue and white. And look, click here to start signing. And it's flashing. It will flash on their tablet. It will flash on their phone as well. So when they call you saying, I don't know how to sign this, do you see the blinking start signing button? Click it. They don't take you to the first box. It says sign, click here. And doesn't this look familiar? What do you want your name to be? So obviously I don't need all capital. Pete Dragon. You can draw the signature, adopt and sign, same as before. Now it jumps to the next step. Click. Jumps to the next one. Click. Jumps to the next one. You can get through this very quickly. A great time, I heard an agent, she had an offer she wanted to submit on a house, and the listing agent said, I'm in my car, on my way to the sellers now, with 3 offers in my hand. If you want your offer submitted, get it to me. She was driving. So she pulled over to the side of the road, she filled out the contract like we're doing here on her phone, sent it like this, and her client signed on her phone. She got a copy of it back, emailed it to the agent, and they got the house. While he was literally in transit to there. Now, normally you're not going to do it that quick. Just know it can be done that quick. Typically what happens is...
How old are you? Just tell me how old you are.
36.
When I was 36, I'm 60. When I was 36 and I was in the business, you know what I had to do? I had to call up the clients. We would pick a gas station that was convenient for both of us. I'd have to bring all the contracts, bring a pen, because they would never have a pen, and tell them to press really hard because it's got to go through 8 copies. Right? And I still got business done. Can you imagine how much more business you can get done now? Think about how easy this is.
Anywhere in the world, as long as they have internet access and access to their email.
Who remembers that? Meeting people at gas stations to get stuff signed, right? God, I'm so old.
Don't say that.
You're seasoned.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say that around Layla. She gets mad when I say it.
All right, so now notice we're done. If I missed a signature, it would tell me you're missing a spot. It actually counts down. It'll tell me out of the 18 spots, you signed 1 of 18, 2 of 18, 3 of 18. So there's no way they can mess this up. Now it's blinking again, finish signing. I'll click finish, and it will say you're done. Now the trick is, it says you're done, make sure they create their own account. I have an account, that's why it's in a login. If they don't have an account, tell them you do want to create an account, because then you can access Dotloop 24/7. They already have their email, all they need is a password. You'll let them know when you're done signing, it's going to say you're done. Will you please add a password, and then you can log into Dotloop.com 24/7 and access your contracts. Isn't that great? That's your script for them. So I already have an account. I'll see if it'll let me log in. You can see all my loops there. It takes me back, and doesn't it look just like ours, except it's blue, and it will tell you 7 free loops remaining. So the client has the ability to come in here and access the document just like we did, print a copy of it, download a copy of it, they can view it. I've got one more to sign, so I can come here now and sign it. Start signing. I can go to the next contract. So I'll click start signing, initial here, my signature again, click, 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 I'll skip one, click here, oh, I'm not done, I missed one, and it bounced back to it. Click there, finish signing, and now I'm all done. It auto notifies you that it's done signing. So if I come back to Dotloop and refresh this screen, it'll now say instead of waiting for others, signed. Now if I come to my activity log, look, here's a notification, one notification, signed, I signed the lead-based paint disclosure, and activity log will tell me everything we just did. Everything we just did. So since we started this loop, it was 4 items. Here's everything that's happened with it. I shared it, Jay shared this form, Pete viewed, Pete signed, Jay joined, viewed, signed, because obviously that's my actual account. It's everything about it. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm ready to submit my offer. So I'm not going to click these saying they're signed and share it with the other agent. I'm going to download it to my computer. And then I'm going to I'll actually save this. So file, save as, to my desktop, because it's all signed and ready to go. And I'll just call this offer and 5555 North Ocean.
Does Dotloop have an app, or are we doing it?
There is an app as well.
Also,
There is an app that you can use. Actually, the website works on your phone just fine, yet they made an app to be a little easier to search for things and to find stuff. So there's an app for the iPhone and Android, yet you can also log in on the website. So on the iPhone in Safari, you can go to Dotloop.com or MyKW. It'll take you there. It works in both places. So now I have an offer ready to go. So it's all ready. Well, now that I have an offer ready to go, I'm going to archive these I'm going to add a PDF, because the last thing I want to show you before we get to templates is adding a PDF. What do you do if you get a counter offer? Let's say they tell you, we're not accepting your offer, bring us a higher price, or re-sign this, re-sign that. So I'm going to browse the computer for a PDF, and we're going to get offer 5555 North Ocean Boulevard, and I'm going to open it. As long as it's a PDF, I can add it here. Since I have the full offer signed, I don't need these other two. So I can archive them and hide them. Clean up your folder. It makes it easier for Robin and even for you to find the document you need. Now it's still here. See, show archive now is there. So I can see everything archived. And then I can go back and hide it all. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do. Show archive. Let me unarchive. Document. Unarchive. You can unarchive too. So now that I've got my offer all ready to go, now this is the PDF version, I'm sorry. This is a PDF, so obviously now I have a lot more controls at the top. I can add a signature. I can add initials, add text, date, time, checkbox, radio button, strike through. So when you take the contract class, you will learn, typically if we were changing the price, well, they want to see that there was a change made. Don't just copy over it. So you would use the strike through to cross out 500,000, add some text. So let's say now we're going to offer 525. We're in a multiple offer bidding, 525. And anytime I do it that way, I need to also add a signature for my client. Oops, initial. Add initial. Add the initial. Assign the field who's initialing here, and I need my, where is he? Am I in the wrong loop?
Peter.
Yes. My client's gone.
For a P train.
Yeah. Supposed to be there. Oh, I know why. Because I signed into my Dotloop account and now I switched it back to my name, James. Okay, so there's my initial for that person. Typically, when you're getting a counter offer, it's usually one or two little changes. You're not going to go back into your original document and rewrite the whole thing and sign every field. You just need to make a minor change. So that's exactly what I would do. Now, this time I can save and share and have Jay sign it. Save and share. Reshare this. Enter custom, changed price to 525 as requested. Please initial. Click share. Now it's been shared, and I can come into Dotloop on this side. Go to my email, Action needed. Jay needs you to sign a document. Review. Now I can review that we're signing one little box. Start signing. Click here. Adopt and sign. And finish. That's how quick and easy it is to initial a change and to do that. So if I come back to my loops now, and go into my loop, remember I accidentally archived the wrong thing. So this folder needs to be unarchived. And now I can see it. Okay. So now this is my signed offer ready to go with the change in it.
Why did you even say anything about archiving at that point? I thought you were supposed to archive at the very end.
Archiving that was the whole entire folder. I'm archiving now because I don't need the first offer, second offer, third offer.
Oh, that's
16.
the only thing.
I don't need every document in this loop visual to me.
Okay.
I need to only work on what I'm working on because
Okay.
you'll get confused.
Okay.
Sometimes it's the same file name, and you're like, wait, is this the executed contract?
Okay.
Is that one? And Heather and Robin are going to review everything, and they're going to see all those files too. So if you archive what you don't need and only have the active items that are supposed to be looked at here, it just
Okay.
makes it easier. Thank you, though, for asking why we did that. Okay, does that make sense? I mean, it's going to take practice. You're not going to master it today, so start practicing. Do a test loop. When you take Ignite, write a pretend offer. Practice one of those offers. We'll look at it, I'll look at it, Bill will look at it, we'll make sure that you're using it, because when you're comfortable with this, you'll do that.
What if you have a teammate?
Thank you. Okay, so if you were working on a teammate, you can come down to people, and let's just say James Cermak was actually another agent. I'll add a person. You know what? I'll just add Jose Sone, Jose at Jose.com. And role, I will choose buying agent like me, and notice there's an add to my team button. If you check add to my team button, this tells you this is only work for people working closely. I'm giving this person full right to this loop and everything in it. So you're not going to add to the team for another co-op agent, yet if you're working with an agent here in the office on the same side of the deal, yes, add them to the team, because then they'll have full access. So that way if they're in their Dotloop account, they can add a file and view all the files. If you're in the other person's account, they will have the ability to add and remove and look at all the signatures. So I could do it that way. And we realized, so you were doing that with Adriana, and what's missing is you got an email telling you to click here to accept. So if you add it to the team member, your team member has to click I accept to be on your team, and then they'll have full access to it. Just know there's an extra step there.
That goes, I have to do that on
Each one. It doesn't do it automatically. Now there is a way that Dotloop might have a way to program it in the back end that you're a team. So what I would recommend is if you click here and call, where's their help? At the bottom of the screen, if you call their help button there, they'll probably tell you how to do that permanently. Because obviously if you're on a team, on a big team, you want it to be the same. There's a way to program it. Right now, I don't have that capability. That you have to tell them. So I know we're at the end of our class. I just want to quickly show you one more thing you can do with templates. So you're going to play with Dotloop for filling out the contract. Remember, a form, the pre-filling the form, you can't modify the form, you just fill it in and sign. A PDF, though, you can add boxes, add signatures, add all kinds of things, just like you could with the full Adobe Professional Reader if I wanted to. So the sheet that I gave you was for Dotloop folders. Now, folder interactive forms is nice, yet it's not pre-filled in any way. It's blank, everything has to be filled in. Well, what's the same information all the time? I'm the same agent every time. If I'm gonna hold escrow here in the office, I might be the same escrow agent every time, or title company every time. My inspection date might be the same every time. So those are some fields I can fill in if I add that file to a folder. You can create your own folders. So I've already created some. If you come to templates, it'll say add a new folder and call it what you want. So if you just want to say, I'll add one for a builder. Let's say, not builder, an investor. Let's just say 123 investments. A great way to use this system is to have the contracts pre-filled in for the investor. They're the same name every time. They usually have a standard if they're an investor of how much money I'm putting down, who's gonna hold escrow, how quick I want my inspection period done. They have their system ready that you can pre-fill this in with their information to make it fill in 5 minutes, to just say click, 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 contract's ready to submit. Then when you're inside that individual template folder, that's when you can come to templates and add one. So I can add template here, Florida Interactive Forms inside it, just like a loop, as is. And I can copy it in here. And now my 123 investment folder has an as-is contract that I can start filling in. So when I add it to a loop, it's pre-filled in partially. So the party every time buyer is always 123, investments, LLC, let's say. Maybe I know every time they do it, they always do a $10,000 deposit within 3 days, whatever their terms are. You will find if you're an investor, they usually have a set rule, and they'll give you a sheet. I want it filled out this way on every contract every time. When you save it this way, now, every time I go to a loop and add a folder from 123 investments and add a contract that way, it's already partially filled in, and all I have to do is fill in the seller, address, and little information. So here are the folders that I have. Buyers. My buyers folder is what I put on the sheet. These are the most current ones. I added the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. This is the contract that says we're working together, I'm your agent, you're my buyer. It's my representation for them. The as-is contract. So I'll come here, I'll show you what I pre-filled in on this, if I did. So Broward County is usually typically where I'm working, so I pre-filled that in. Remember, it can always be overwritten. Escrow. Usually I have us hold escrow in-house, so I know my buyer's money's protected. So I put Keller Williams Realty, our address, my phone number, my email address. That way it's pre-filled in, and I don't have to remember to do it. Another field I did was, because I don't know their financing and stuff, section 12, inspection period. The state, this contract is 15 days if you leave it blank. Well, typically that's too long if you want the deal to close quickly. So my standard that I help my clients guide to is 10 days or less. You'll choose yours, and then you can put it in there. So I put 10 to remind myself. And then the last page of this contract is always, what is the cooperating sales agent? Well, here's my name and my license number, and who's the cooperating broker? What's the actual company? This contract now is pre-filled in every time so that I can then create a loop and put that file in there. So that's my buyer's folder. Now, you don't need every addendum under the buyer's folder, you just need a couple. Most of the addendums will pre-fill in some stuff, and it's just a sign here, sign here, sign here. I put the most common ones I use. So lead-based paint, you're gonna come across a lot. Homeowners Association and Condos Association is also something you come in a lot. The last one on here is something called a KW Buyer Tenant Disclosure Form. This is a form that we've updated that will tell them about equal housing opportunity. It'll explain to them legally what escrow is, what a survey and inspection is. This is a great form if you're working with a buyer to basically disclose everything they need to know about the deal. And you can disclose it and protect yourself. It'll also explain to them that we have a relationship. This is the old one. I'll add the new one. Perfect example of how I can delete this. This time you can actually delete a file. And I'm going to show you where the new one is. So I went ahead, add document, templates, and KWFTL office forms I'm managing for you, and you will find the, where is it? Buyer tenant disclosure right here. Check the box to copy it into your loop, so it's always here for me to find. And this is now updated to say Supreme Lending, because that's what we have upstairs. See, I changed the format of it. So it's now affiliated business, Trident Title, and Supreme Lending upstairs. So you're disclosing to them we have a relationship with them. You're disclosing them what property tax is, mold disclosures, what the law says, rental, gas, radon gas, defective drywall. You're basically just covering your behind and giving them a disclosure.
Condition?
This one does have a relationship commission right here. This is where you can also add a extra fee.
Oh.
So if you have like an administration fee, closing fee, whatever, this is another place you can add that. I would definitely recommend you have that in your buyer folder, and between a buyer brokerage agreement, any contract I do, they sign that as well. Leases. Leases are a little different because we don't really teach a class on there. I have some training on it, and this is where you can go for, I created a rental guideline form. This tells them basically how does a rental work itself for. I made this generic to you guys to use, so it's Keller Williams on there, and it tells them what the rental process is, and it's not branded to me, so you can use this form. This rental guidelines and how to work with a renter is under KWFTL forms, and then you can just put it in the lease folder and quickly find it. The whole goal of this folder is to quickly say, I'm going to do a new loop for a lease. Here's everything I need in one place. So when it comes to leases, you're going to need the rental guidelines. Again, buyer tenant disclosure, because for tenants, I need to disclose some of that stuff too. Rental application. This is something that is a generic form. If you're going to work with a renter, if they fill this out, it shows that they're more serious about renting a place. There is a contract that they can sign for working with a renter, yet if you were a renter, would you really want to sign and say I'm working with a realtor? Not likely. However, if you're serious about renting, aren't you going to fill out this application anyways? So that's what shows me you're serious about renting if you fill this out. I made one fillable so that you can share it with your client and they can electronically type in the information themselves. So that's also under KWFTL folders, and I moved it into my lease folder. Contract to lease. So we don't do leases as agents. The contract to lease is here's the terms of the lease, how I want it written. My tenant is going to sign, the landlord's going to sign, and then the lease is what actually is a legal contract. So this is what you'll use to say we're going to put in an offer, and I want to rent that place for $1,500 a month, and there's our terms based on what the MLS says. Okay, we're just about done. And then if you're going to do a listing, that's when you'll find here a residential lease. Where is it? Enter an agreement to lease. Oh, there's a couple different leasing forms. So as you start learning about how to do these, I'm just putting everything I need in one folder. That's the whole goal of this. Sellers is a little bit simpler. Seller, there isn't many documents when it comes to selling the home. Most of the paperwork's in buying the home, and then everyone signs it. So you're gonna have an exclusive listing agreement. This is what Richard teaches in his bootcamp class on how to fill that out. So you need that in there. This is the modification to that listing agreement. When you change price, when you extend the contract dates out, when you need to change the terms of the original lease or listing, this is the form that modifies that. And then the sellers and condos disclosure statement. This is a form that you're just going to print out. You're not going to electronically fill it out. It's going to tell you it has to be signed by them right here. Only the seller should fill out this form. So you print it out. It's here to remind me to print it, give it to them, and have them sign and fill out what they can disclose about the property. That's really the main folders you need. Feel free to add more things if you want to. Other things under the KWFTL office form so that you know are here. Referral form. This is the new updated form. I put it in here. So if you're working a referral for another agent in another state and you want to send them a referral, I have Jane Doe who wants to buy in Boston. This is the form that you'll use that you'll say, I'm the sending office, see how I pre-filled it in, Keller Williams, add your name and information, and then this is where you put the other agent's information in. This will be a contract that they will sign that says we agree that you're going to pay a 25% referral fee on it. And that company will need our tax number for our W-9 so that they have our EIN number to say we paid out to Keller Williams a referral fee that's going to go to Jay. It's just one quick form. So if you ever need that form, it's under KWFTL documents forms. Paperless cover sheet checklist. We're going to work on a new version of this. This is a checklist of what needs to be inside each loop. So when you're ready to close out of that loop, here's where you need the MLS printout inside the loop. You need the tax record inside the loop because we need to make sure legally do we have the right information. Did the MLS say you get 3%? What did the MLS disclose? It needs to be in there along with the contract. So this is one of those sheets that you probably want with you, and we have it under KWFTL documents. Again, here's all those rental forms. And then the escrow, if you're going to do an escrow deposit, we have the printouts in the next room. You can also do one online and electronically fill it out and send it to Robin or email it to them to say, I need to deposit money into here. So we're going to keep adding KWFTL office forms. If you think you're missing one in Dotloop or you want to see a form in here, everything that is done by the state is under Florida Interactive Forms. Everything that we have in our office.
The tax record has to be also with rentals as well, so that's correct?
Yeah.
And it's.
Every deal needs this. This is the sheet.
That's the sheet.
That's the sheet.
Alright.
You can hit print, save it as a PDF. This is what they need because what they're going to do is make sure the ID number is right, the address is right, legal description, that's what they're looking for. To make sure that we have the right information for compliance reasons. That's why we put the MLS sheet in there and the tax record because the agent might have entered it wrong. And we need to verify before we execute this contract, is the ID wrong?
So a PDF of the MLS sheet also has to be in.
Correct. And that's what that checklist says. So if you download this checklist, it'll help you.
I saw that.
We're going to clean out some of the stuff in there. I just want to highlight it's there if you need it. All right, thank you guys for staying an extra few minutes to go through those. It's practice. So for now, if you're working with buyers, start working on your buyers folder. If you're working with sellers and want a listing right away, start working on listing one. If you're taking Bill's program, he's going to teach you how to do some of this stuff, and Ignite's going to cover some of this as well. Of why you need this form, why you need that form. And Boot Camp is the class that teaches how to execute and fill out your contract legally. Thank you guys. Thank you for signing.